It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Good morning, Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Well, we've made it out of August and into the month of September, and so as you're waking up on this Labor Day Monday, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to take a look at your holiday weather forecast for today, plus we'll also take a look at fall, which is inching closer and closer on the calendar. You know, it's pretty interesting that today is the first day you can say cruising the coast starts next month. So, yeah, that should tell you right there that we are getting into the Burr month. September, October, November, December. Eventually we'll be saying Burr as the weather turns cooler. But let's take a look at this whole seasonal change. So today you're going to hear a lot of meteorologists and maybe in other newscasts and such. They're going to talk about how today is the first day of meteorological fall. We talk about this every year, but there's always new folks joining in and trying to figure out what is that all about. Well, I'll tell you one thing, meteorological fall is nothing, or it is not the same rather as the fall that you are used to, the one on the calendar. That's called astronomical fall because it is governed by the heavens, by the astronomy. It is based on Earth's position and tilt to the sun. And in September, you base it off of the autumnal equinox, which is the moment that Earth's, the sun rather, the moment that sun is angled directly over Earth's equator. So whenever that happens, that's what officially changes the calendar from summer to fall. That usually happens every year around September 21st, September 22nd. The day moves around though. You can never like tell just off the top of your head what's the first day of fall. If I ask you right now, what's the first day of fall for the next 10 years, go. You can't do that. Not off the top of your head. You'd have to look it up. So that whole thing about the dates moving each year, that makes this annoying for people like meteorologists, which keep climate records and have to be able to compare apples to apples each year. If you have the dates of the season changing each year, one year it starts on the 21st, another year fall starts on the 22nd, then how can you compare each fall to each year? It will be very difficult because the days are moving around a little bit. Even by just a day or so, it can make a difference when you're comparing, for example, the record hottest fall or the record coolest fall. If it falls on the wrong date, then it messes up your weather records. So that's why meteorologists and other people who tend to use climate records, where you keep a record of the weather, historical records, these dates don't move. In meteorological fall, it's declared to start on the first day of September. It's declared to end on the last day of November. And that never ever changes because it's just based on the calendar. And more importantly, it more closely follows the annual temperature cycle. The time of fall, meteorological fall, is that time in which you are getting away from the heat of summer and getting closer to the coolness of winter. And we can take a look at some of those numbers as fall begins this month, whether it's meteorological fall that starts on the first day of the month, whether it's the calendar fall that starts around the 21st or something. Regardless, fall is going to start this month, no matter which fall you're looking at. And it looks like this normally when we start the first day of September with temperatures around 90 for a high normally. But eventually we get away from 90. It is no longer normal to see highs in the 90s by the time we get to the middle of September. And then by the time we get to October, you shouldn't really have too many more 90s at all. That's actually the month that we, over the last 4 or 5 years, we typically see the final 90-degree day of the year in October. And then once you go from October to November, there's actually never been any 90-degree temperatures officially recorded in Gulfport, Biloxi since we've kept weather records that go back to the 1800s. Not even once, not even 1 year, over 100+ years, has there ever been a 90-degree temperature recorded in Gulfport, Biloxi following the month of October. So that should give you something to look forward to. If you aren't a big fan of the summer heat, we're eventually seeing the temperatures kind of decreasing. I will say this summer hasn't really been too terribly extremely hot, other than the few heat waves we had toward the beginning of summer in June and early July. But for the rest of July and for much of August, we never really returned to that type of extreme heat that we saw earlier this summer season. And for today, that same thing will hold true. We're starting off the day with pretty comfortable temperatures, and I want to show you what I'm watching for your holiday Labor Day Monday forecast. So on the satellite, we're looking at what you can see from space, and we can see the clouds over parts of the Mississippi coast. If you'll notice where we are on the coast, here is South Mississippi right here. And we're noticing that there's this area of clouds that has just kind of moved in from Louisiana. It's very slowly but surely trying to move in from the west. And not everyone's seeing those clouds. If you're waking up in Lucedale, it's basically a sunny morning. Waking up in Wiggins, completely sunny. Poplarville, completely sunny. But then you come down to other places near Hancock County, it's cloudier. Parts of Harrison County, cloudier. Jackson County, not as cloudy, especially once you go to the east of Ocean Springs. We can show you what this map looks like in our weather graphics. What we were using, just the raw NOAA satellite right there. But we do have our weather graphics that has a satellite imagery on it, as well as the first alert radar on it. So we'll kind of use that and zoom in to South Mississippi, see what we can see there. As we're looking at the satellite and radar, it's hard, the clouds don't show up as much on this particular imagery, which is why I like to just use the raw satellite for the first part of the day. As the sun is just coming up, it can be, the visible satellite imagery is really faint on this map here, but you can still make out some of those clouds that are passing through Picayune, much of Hancock County, and much of western Harrison County. And I think we can kind of confirm some of the visuals of those if we look at what our tower cams look like as we go toward the 9 o'clock hour on Monday morning. There's still some sunshine, even in Hancock County where the sky is a bit cloudier. You can still see a few breaks of blue facing toward the north there. And Biloxi facing toward the north, you can see a break of blue sky, but there are some more clouds off to the west. This is Biloxi facing west. We got some sunshine on the beach by the lighthouse, but if you go far enough in toward the west there, you will eventually run into more clouds. And then this is Gulfport facing toward the southeast, where we're seeing quite a bit of clear sky there, although there are a few clouds a bit behind the camera view toward the west there. So as we take a look at what the rain chances are going into this hour, the 9 o'clock hour, not a lot. So even though there's some clouds there, we're not really finding a lot of rain. So those chances are only around 10% this morning. They do jump up to about a 20% for places like Wiggins and Lucedale and DeKalb. Anywhere north of I-10, you can see that 20% chance by noon. Then down by the beaches, it just stays at 10%. It looks like, again, just a pretty nice start to the day. We're just going to see the temperatures getting to the 80s this morning, and maybe one or two spots might briefly touch 90 this afternoon, but it does not look overly hot. So whether you're lounging in a hammock or you're cooking up some good food on the grill for family and friends, spending time outdoors today looks like a good bet. I mean, it's a generally nice weather day. You know, we don't have a 0% chance for rain. There might be an isolated rain shower here and there. That chance only about 10 to 20% this afternoon. And frankly, most of the rain that happens today is probably not going to happen on the Mississippi coast, but instead it's going to be mainly to the south of our coast. So there are plenty of people who might be boating in the Mississippi Sound today. I know a lot of people spend the holiday on the boat, and the waters of the Sound don't really have that high of a chance for rain. Other than, again, an isolated shower. Most of the rain probably happens to the south of the Mississippi Sound in the Gulf. So that's where you're going to find more of those showers. They're generally going to be situated in this zone here from near Houston, Texas toward Miami, Florida, and the remainder of the middle of the Gulf. That's where a stationary front is situated, and that's where you're going to have more features coming together, better atmospheric moisture, better forcing with the lift and such. that's going to help for those rain showers to really get going in the offshore waters there of the Gulf. But overland, again, on the coast, looks like a pretty nice afternoon. You're looking at the Labor Day forecast heading into Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Partly cloudy in the afternoon and evening, a stray shower possible. Temperatures will hit their hottest around 3 or 4 p.m. We'll be in the upper 80s and lower 90s by that point in the day. And then later on in the evening, it looks like we'll get to the lower 90s by then. So you're looking at temperatures in the lower 80s by 6 or 7 p.m. Much more comfortable if you are going to be outside in the evening for any dinner plans by that point in the day. So there's a look at your 7-day forecast as we get through the first week of September. Looks pretty good. We are looking at the first week of September with no major heat waves, the first week of September with no big storms in the Gulf, no hurricanes on the Gulf Coast or anything like that. I know we're getting closer to the peak of hurricane season, so of course we're going to watch anything that's trying to form. But at this moment in time, over the next 5 to 7 days, there's no tropical threats directly to our Mississippi coast that are going to bring us any significant weather over the next 5 to 7 days. Our high temperature is going to stay in the upper 80s and lower 90s. And the general trend here for this week is going to be to start off with highs around the upper 80s to 90, and then maybe get a little bit hotter as we go later into the week. These numbers that you're seeing are mainly only for the coast, but if we show you the 10-day, which includes both the coast and the inland areas, you'll notice how it does get a little bit hotter north of I-10. You could go to 94 by Friday for a place like Wiggins. So that's kind of out of the next 10 days, the hottest absolute temperature you see anywhere could be a 94 in a place like Wiggins or anywhere north of I-10 on Friday afternoon. And the coolest absolute temperature over the next 10 days looks like it could be the 66 on Wednesday morning. Again, mainly north of I-10. Those would be places that would see that type of cooler air. Once you're on the coast, it's hard to get the mornings to cool off much because the water temperatures are still really warm. But overall, again, pretty nice start to September. Hopefully the entire month of September treats us nicely in regards to our weather forecast, and we can just get out of summer, go into fall, and, you know, have a nice transition of the seasons locally. Well, that'll pretty much do it for today's edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Have a happy Labor Day, and we'll see you again next time.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.